This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, point is verse 11, and it reads, An evil man seeketh only rebellion, therefore a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. I want to start, Slaki, I want to start off by giving all praises, all honor, and all glory to call Loyam La Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Racha, Kodesh B'Katam. I want to say double honors to my apostles, the elders of great millstone, teaching, do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim, those are four corners of the earth, pushing the truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akwath, as well as the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord, willingly this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but subscribing to this truth. To you I say shalom. It's the brother Yahweh Sop out of the GMS Cleveland Church, a fellow servant, coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh Shem Shai. So I came across this article on my Newsbreak app, and caught my attention off the beginning because off the get go, because through the Spirit I have been saying this. People are going to be blindsided by when this economy crashes. You know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff going on. I was just listening to a brother. I want to say the brother was from Ancient Days, but I watch so many videos, so Salakia for that, not knowing exactly where I'm getting this information from. But I know I just watched it yesterday, and there was a brother talking about that diesel shortage. I know Elder Malcolm from the Chicago camp was the first brother to make mention of it, where I caught my attention or how I became aware of it. And brother's been bringing it out here and there, but brother just did a video on it, and he had sources and Edomites. That's like that get two third nigga to get to listening, when the Edomites say it. So anyhow, say you got less than 25 days left for diesel fuel left, and what people don't understand is, like, the diesel fuel is like the lifeblood of this country, because everything moves on is moved by truck pretty much, even if it's moved by freight or a train or a locomotive from the get-go. Eventually it's moved by a truck. That's why truck driving is so lucrative. But I was listening to different aspects of the situation right now. The Lord has it set up where basically they're talking about how the cost of things are going up. Well, you got these dispatchers, or I forgot what they're called, but the people that basically take the bid for the job, but then they're paying the drivers only so much because everything else is going up. I remember the brother Barack Allah from Ancient Days. He was going into, because I believe his profession is truck driving, and he was going into how especially during the pandemic, you had those trailers that weren't being moved off the docks. He said basically you'll be sitting there all day, and not get your whatever you're supposed to be hauling. So with this, this is going to affect everything from, it's talking about a lot of the farm equipment is moved or utilizes diesel fuel. So it's looking like, the Lord is working. I'm going to get that real quick. This is the book of Psalms 119, and the point is verse 126. It is time for thee, Lord Yahweh, to work, for they have made void thy law. And the work that the Lord is doing is these prophecies coming to pass. How intricately he's lining everything up. A lot of brothers equate the Most High to the perfect chess player, the architect. They say that those Masons label him the architect. They don't, because that just show you that's some wicked shit anyway, because they can deal with all these different nationalities, and as long as you believe in a higher power, supposedly that's what they say. But when you delve into Freemasonry, and this is coming out of some of those people that basically reached what's the word, basically they achieved high levels of in the masonry, that like from Albert Pike to what's it, Manly P. Hall. They tell you, who the true power of masonry is. It's a book called the Satanic, the Masonic. Bear with me for a second, because I'm gonna get it. This is a book that I've read parts of it, but this is a book that when I first came to the truth, I came across the Egyptian Masonic Satanic Connection. And, it goes into a lot of the ancient Egyptian practices, are basically you know you know they try to recreate a lot of those practices because at the end of the day, the scriptures tell you that the Egyptians, they were able to actually recreate some of the miracles that Moses was able to until it got to a point where the Most High just how like two people racing. And, then the one that's quicker put on the afterburners, and take off, So the Most High opened up on them and they couldn't recreate, I forgot when it was some of the miracles they were creating or recreating. I believe when Moses dropped the staff or Aaron dropped the staff, I can't recall exactly who, Salakia, but one of them dropped the staff, and then the Egyptians dropped their staffs and they turned into snakes. But the Most High allowed Moses' staff to eat up the other snakes. You know what I mean? But anyhow, just showing how masonry is some bullshit for real. And with all these things, like again, lining up perfectly, you know, these people is gonna probably be, not probably, it's gonna be that dark winter. You got people suffering more than they were suffering during the pandemic, but yet and still they're not talking about any extra payments. Now you got certain states that's been giving out money the whole time, like California, yada yada yada. You got certain states that was giving out stimulus, but you got certain states that wasn't, like Ohio. Now they got that federal money, but what did they do with it? you know. So this is out of Business Insider. It says if a recession comes, don't count on unemployment insurance. States aren't ready to give you benefits. This is dated 14 hours ago, and it says Carlos Ponce joins a protest in Miami Springs, Florida, asking senators to continue unemployment benefits past July 31st, 2020. A new report looks at how America's unemployment insurance system is faring. The result, many states pay little and for fewer weeks, and it takes over a month to get benefits. And that's the truth, because when you go into the states, unemployment, depending on what you make, you don't get like the pandemic and the pandemic unemployment. That basically was a boost, and that's why it was actually like the Most High had people in a trick bag, because you got people to the point where they didn't want to go back to work because of the fact they was getting $500 and $600. If you getting $300 a week from your unemployment, and then you get an extra $300 from the federal government, who would want to? I mean, you don't have to work, but regular unemployment, I think because I lost my job during the pandemic, and I think weekly I was gonna get like $279, almost $300, and then with the $300, it was like $589 a week. So you got to understand that most unemployment insurance, they only pay like a percentage of what your actual income was. It's not meant for you to actually like live off of. It's meant for you to be able to sustain and take care of bills up until you find another job. The thing is, with inflation kicking in, this little money ain't gonna help at all. And the federal government is not saying anything about any kind of help from the government. Is that by happenstance or coincidence? It reads, that's bad news for laid off workers if another economic downturn comes soon. When the pandemic first hit, the federal government took an unprecedented step, making unemployment insurance robust and far more accessible to workers traditionally excluded from the benefits. That, of course, came with its own hiccups, as overburdened unemployment systems in many states struggle to pay out checks. But even so, enhanced benefits served as a lifeline for millions of Americans in the middle of an unprecedented time. And what they're probably going to do, like a lot of brothers feel through the spirits, they're going to lock this bitch down, because if they're not trying, they want you in a state of desperation. You know what I mean? They're not really trying to have you go to work, and they already done seen that they can do it. They've already seen they can lock shit down and people are going to comply. If the economy sours now, though, don't expect it to happen again. All that was temporary. That's the spirit. I was saying this all since, basically they lifted the restrictions and whatnot. All that was temporary. We can't count any of it coming back. Andrew Stetner, the director of Workforce Policy and senior fellow for left-leaning think tank, the Century Foundation, told Insider. We go into this quite honestly with a very concerned perspective given the level of backlash that there was. A new TCF report and data dashboard from Stettiner and Laura Val Gutierrez lays out just how full of holes the social safety nets is for workers settling out of a job. For one, if you're laid off, unemployment insurance likely won't come close to covering how much money you were making. And that's the spirit. I just said all this. The report finds that the average weekly benefit of 347 accounts for just 39% of how much people were making on average, right? Because it's a percentage of it. It's not your full wage. For comparison, beefed up benefits last year came in at about $617 weekly, a 79% replacement rate. So that's why you had a lot of people not working it. And they purposely, I ain't gonna say they purposely did it, but 9 times 10, they purposely did it. You had people that got unemployment and was getting that extra money and went and leased cars or went and tried to buy cars off of unemployment. You don't do no shit like that, because unemployment could go away at any time. They could have stopped those benefits at any time, and that gave them an excuse to basically inflate the money. And if you do not, Salaki, and if you do need to access unemployment insurance benefits, they might not arrive for a while. The Department of Labor says that an acceptable level of performance from state UI systems is distributing 87% of first-time payments within 21 days. Now that's about accurate, but during the PD, or the CV situation, it took months. I remember I lost my job and it took damn near like almost 3 months. I was living off my savings, and the Lord had it so set up so cold, because right when I ran out of savings, not to digress, but the job that I had got fired from wanted me to be hired back. Basically, they said some bullshit. It took almost 3 months for somebody to even see my file on my case. And then basically they like, well, it's an issue because of this and that, because I said I got fired for this. They said that they fired from me for this. So I'm like, well, if that's the case, then why would they be hiring me back? And when the adjudicator heard it, she like, what? So she called the employer and basically asked, well, if he did this, why would you hire him back? And she didn't know what to say. You know what I mean? So it's just so cold how the Lord did it, because I had enough to survive off of all the way up until, my money ran out. And then that's when the unemployment came in. It says right now, according to TCF report, just 15 states are doing that. That means that people who lost their jobs and newly qualified for benefits are waiting to receive those benefits for over 3 weeks in most states. It has UI also filled in key gaps that are now back in full force. Black workers are more likely to live in states with lower benefits. The enhanced benefits in the wake of the pandemic meant those states relied more on federal assistance, and black workers who were disproportionately impacted by layoffs in the early months of the pandemic were able to receive UI or unemployment insurance at similar rates to workers across the country. Now, 4 out of 10 states with the largest black populations rank among the 10 states with the lowest wage replacement rates in the country. According to the TCF report, that means that without federal assistance or padding, black workers there will lose out on more wages than workers in the rest of the country. Many states have cut how many weeks workers are eligible for benefits over the last decade or so. According to the report, 10 states have reduced benefits below the previously standard 26 weeks. I didn't know that. Yeah, that was like standard. So like 26 weeks would have been like, you had 26 weeks where you had to work 26 weeks to basically even qualify. I know in my state. And then you had a certain, that's why like you had like Obama did it, and now you had Biden that did it, where they basically changed unemployment, where unemployment was able to go on longer than it normally did. And now, like I said, they're not making any mention of this. Like I said, it seemed like that Biden only really tried to get the gas down and do certain things because you got these midterm elections. This is all for fluff. Many states have, I read all that. It says, in the wake of the Great Resignation, many states also willfully opted out of enhanced unemployment programs in an attempt to get people back to work. I believe that was one of the things that happened in my state as well. A tactic that didn't have any real impact on unemployment, but did leave workers scrambling to figure out how they were going to survive. Which, you know what I mean? Again, this is coming from the federal government. So why would the state government stop it? You know, yeah, to get people to go back to work, but at the same time, you tax those dollars. You know, because it's better to let them take the taxes out as opposed to trying to pay it at the end when you don't have it. None of that bodes well if there's a downturn coming. What we know for sure, if that is Slocket, what we know for sure is that if we do have a repeat of the early 1980s, which is the last time the Federal Reserve Bank took action to really put the economy into a recession, the people that lost their jobs, they didn't do anything wrong. Stetner said, he added, we can't just all of a sudden think that the state unemployment benefit system on its own will be able to handle the either individually or will be able to handle that either individually or economically. You know, and then that's what I like about news breaks because it goes into other articles that are basically similar. But so you know, and the thing is, if it's when, because like I said again, this diesel shortage is going to affect a lot of jobs. I mean, just basically, like I said, if the farm equipment is ran off of diesel, and then the farm equipment can't pick the food that goes to your grocery store or is used in these restaurants, that's going to affect those jobs. You know what I mean? Like when you really see how the Lord got it so intricately woven, it's going to affect everything. So, like I said again, this might be that dark winter. You know, so let me get this. It reads. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 7 and verse 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, also, thou son of man, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, power unto the land of Israel, an end. The end is come upon the four corners of the land. Now is the end come upon thee, and I will send my anger upon thee, and will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. And mine eye shall not spare thee, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense thy ways upon thee, and thine abominations shall be in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, because of thy disobedience. You know, I brought out that Proverbs 17, a wicked man. How did it go? Salakia. Talk about a wicked man. Matter of fact, let me get it out of here. Proverbs. An evil man seeketh only rebellion, therefore a cruel messenger will be sent against him. And when you go evil man, you know, it talks about wicked and evil. You know, it tells you in the book of Job, chapter 9 and verse 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. An evil man, you know, and it talks about 2/3 of our people being, you know, wicked and evil. But, you know, it talks about how, you know, it's a nation of people that are actually the wicked, you know. So, you know, a messenger, when you go into the Allahayim, or the angels, it breaks down to messenger. So, you know, we, you know, that push this truth, that are the hopeful elect, you know, we are considered angels in the flesh because we are coming with a message. But those messages don't necessarily have to be, you know, an evil messenger could be considered a demon. But an evil message doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, a spirit at all. It could be, you know, events, signs. You know, a message could be something that happens to take place. You know, it talks about in the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 16, I believe, about how scourges are sent for amendment, and it tells you what those scourges are. They're famine, death, you know, and the Lord sends these things, these spirits, you know, to actually enact amendment, to make a change. But, you know, for, you know, evil, wicked individual, like this place, it tells you in the book of Ecclesiasticus that as a judge of the city is, so are the people. So, you know, because these people are so drunk off the Babylonian juice, they, you know, they not trying to come up out of this shit. You know, you got people really mourning a dude like Takeoff. Like, fuck that nigga. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I was reading a snippet of the article because I really didn't give a fuck. You know, at the end of the day, you know, this dude, in this place, you're rewarded for being wicked. This talks about how him and Migos were an influential group. But influential in what way? They influenced the world to be on some fucking folly. It talks about that in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 10 about how folly is set in great dignity. You got really motherfuckers more. They talk about some guy talking about he gonna retire from rap. Yeah, you should have. Maybe maybe he'll come to the truth. If not, fuck that nigga. May the Lord kill that nigga too. Because at the end of time, at the end of the day, our people are so lost. And if you're not, as a man of this nation, of the nation of Yasharallah, no matter what tribe, if you are a man of this nation, you literally supposed to be doing what the brethren are doing out here on the highways and hedges, pushing this truth. Because you seeing how our people is, like literally, you had like individuals like Jada Kiss basically trying to convince Kanye to, apologize. So these hoe ass niggas literally, like they know that what we speaking is the truth. All it takes, man, like I said, the Lord gonna do something that's so cold. It talks about in the scriptures about how those that's gonna try to save their life is gonna lose it, and those that lose their life for the sake of the Lord is gonna find it. You know what I mean? Like you gonna have these fucking. It talks about those that show consent shall be had in derision. You're gonna have 2/3 of our people that's gonna literally consent and go along to try and hold on to what they got, and gonna be judged. They're gonna see that this man is truly the devil. Back in Ezekiel chapter 7, and it reads, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, and evil, and only evil, behold, is come, and end is come, the end is come, it watcheth for thee, behold, it is come." And it talks about in the First Peter, I believe, that the end is nigh, meaning near. Evil, meaning time, ill meaning bad. It's bad times coming. And like I said again, with all these different things, with the lack of food, with inflation and the highest prices, and then like I said again, something beats nothing. But when, like I said, when you barely can pay because these bills are still going to be compounded. You know what I mean? I was watching something by that guy John Williams, and he was talking about how California basically lifted the eviction moratorium. So now they're allowing these landlords to try to go after all these individuals that end up getting stimulus money and didn't pay rent. You know what I mean? Like the government just showed you some gangster shit. Like, yeah, we could just do what we want. They didn't give a fuck about these landlords getting paid or none of that. You know what I mean? Now, it was loopholes and it was procedures you could have did where they had paid your rent. But for the most part, a lot of landlords, that's why some landlords try to take it in their own hand and basically physically try to remove the occupant. It talks about in the book of Jeremiah about because, and it's really going first and foremost to our people because, of disobedience, because of rebellion. It tells you in the scriptures that the rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. And it talks about in Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 2, and it shall come to pass if they say unto thee, whither shall we go? Because it's talking about in chapter 15 and verse 1, it reads, "Then said the Lord Yahweh unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be towards his people." And it's talking about Israel. And, Samuel and Moses and Samuel were beloved by the Most High. You know what I mean? He said, but even if they stood before me, my mind could not be towards the people. At one point, Moses cried out to the Lord and he spared Yasharallah. He said he wouldn't do it this time. He said, "Cast them out of my sight and let them go forth. And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith the Lord, such as for death to death, such as are for the sword to the sword, and such as for the famine to the famine, and such as are for the captivity to the captivity." Because it talks about 2/3 are sealed with that judgment of death. You're not going to get it on this side. You unprofitable and you're unfruitful. It goes into the parable of the fig tree that the Yahweh Shah Mashiach, who you people ignorantly call Jesus Christ, cursed. When Yahweh went to go get food off of it, and basically it didn't bear any fruit, so the Yahweh cursed it, and it withered away. And that's what 2/3 are going to do on this side. So when it's best, like that's like, for instance, if you deal with the bully, you know what I mean? You want to be on the bully. Well, we ain't gonna call the Lord or the Heavenly Father a bully though. The Lord gave you over to your your calamity, because the thing is, and to show you how that's so true, you've had people literally hear the word and reject it. I know that for a fact. I remember my demon. I used to be trying to figure out like why she can't get this shit. And now I understand why. She was never meant to. She got a horrific judgment. And I'm glad that I don't have to be around her. So go do what you go do, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm glad that the Lord kind of put it in a situation where, you know what I mean, my kids don't have to be up under her. Call law Yimla Yahbashim Yahshua. And I pray that the Lord keep a spirit on me that I continue to do the work so I can save me and my household, It's the book of Proverbs because like I said again, you you know, the Lord is all righteous. You know what I mean? It's the people that's wicked, it's this flesh. So like I said, at the end of the day, you know, he's giving people opportunity to get the truth and to repent and to come back. But it talks about how fools reject knowledge. This is the book of Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 20. Wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. You know, and that's what we do week in, week out when we go on the highways and hedges. We cry out. You know, it tells you in the book of Isaiah chapter 58, lift up thy voice like a trumpet. You know, we supposed to proclaim to, you know, our nation who they are and what's about to befall this place. And let the heathens know their judgment. She cried from the chief place of concourse in the openings of the gates in the city. She uttered her words, saying, and that's why, you know, you had different prophets that literally was, you know, out and about in, you know, in the chief place of concourse, you know, basically like the agora, the marketplace. And that's why you see brothers usually out and about on a street near some kind of store or, you know what I mean, some kind of business, because you're going to have people interacting, you know, they talk about conversation and money rules the world. You know, money is the lifeblood of a society. You know, and when you go into, you know, just how they set up the whole money system, like a lot of that shit is witchcraft. You know what I mean? That's why it wasn't surprising when I first heard about how, the debt note was basically like a talisman, and it, you know what I mean? And people don't want to believe it. What's so cold about the takeoff? I knew somebody was gonna get judged. I didn't know who it was, but I knew somebody was gonna get judged. He died on Halloween. Call lawyer like y'all Bashim Yashai. Verse 22. How long ye simple ones will ye have? Salaki, how long ye simple ones will ye love simplicity, and the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge? You have people that delight in scoffing this. But right now, because they ain't seeing nothing going on. But wait till literally the things that, you know, it's funny. We've been out on the highways and hedges. I know me, myself, I've been out there for some years. You know, I'm a babe in this thing, but I ain't no newbie. I ain't just cross over. And, you know, we've been saying these things. But then Kanye come say it, and that's the power of the Lord. You know what I mean? You know, but like the elder said, the Lord is using Kanye just like he's using Kyrie. And, you know, he used these Kendrick Lamar and these different individuals, but they're not set up to be like, you know, your shepherd. You know what I mean? It talks about in the book of Isaiah, the blind, the leaders of this people. I think it's Isaiah chapter 19. So lucky, I didn't mean to make this that long. My lunch is almost over with. Isaiah 9:16. I think it's 9 and 16. Isaiah 9 and 16, for the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. You know what I mean? Even these fake ass pastors in these churches, they're not telling these people the truth. You know what I mean? You know, they don't go into any prophecy. They just, you know, they're going to actually tell these people to consent onto, you know, and probably come with Romans chapter 13 about how you should, you know, consent to the government. And you do, you know, because the Lord set up all the powers in their positions. It's only when the government is having you go against the scriptures, your power, that's when you resist. You know, you got to remember, when Yahweh Shah was around, he literally, you know, you got to remember, Yasharallah or Israel was in basically subjection to Rome. You know, our people are so carnal when they're supposed to be spiritual. When we are blessed with the spirituality, the spiritual gift, you know, we like that's how you think we got it through slavery. You know, our forefather got through slavery. I mean, through Yahweh Bashim Yahweh, because when you go into like what does, you know what I mean, like what that North Atlantic slave trade entailed, and you know what I mean. And we gonna need Yahweh Bashim Yahweh to get through, you know, this Jacob's trouble, because it talks about Jacob's trouble is going to be like nothing that ever took place before. If the siege of Masada was like nothing that ever took place before, you know, North Atlantic slave trade was like nothing. I mean, it's been slavery, but not to that degree. And we gonna need Yahweh Bashim Yahweh to be able to endure what's about to take place now. You know. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called, and ye refused. I have stretched out my hand, and no man regardeth. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and with none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. You people gonna be trying to call on the name of Jesus, and it ain't gonna work. People gonna be trying to remember the name of the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua because they didn't heard or you didn't have somebody give you the name, and you scoffed at it. But then when that day of trouble comes, that's when you're gonna try literally call on the Most High God, and the Lord's gonna mock you because you ain't gonna be able to remember it, or you're gonna be saying the wrong thing, gibberish. And he gonna laugh through his prophets. It tells you in the book of Luke chapter 1 about how the Most High has spake through the mouth of his prophets to the world since the world began, roughly paraphrased. So, man, we coming into some hard times, man. Best believe that. Like I said, I can see, he is like I said, inflation gonna be kicking in. Like I could already see my rent about to go up. And I was debating on if I was gonna move or whatnot, But I'm trying to follow the spirit, so I'm gonna pray on that one. But nonetheless, we about to come into some hard times. But nonetheless, the Lord is gonna get us through them times. That's what the hopeful elect gonna believe in, because we know we ain't got no power. It tells you in the scriptures that Jacob is a worm. A worm has no defense. Some worms get snatched up, and some worms are protected and don't get found at all. So this is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, and the point is verse 4. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him. And whose soul is this talking about? It's talking about Esau Edom, because of his pride. He's the proudest creature on the planet. And that's why he labeled or basically exalts himself as the eagle. The eagle is the most highest flying bird. It reaches the highest altitude. But yet still, though, it's a filthy, nasty-ass animal as well. Verse 4. Behold, the soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And who is the just? It's Yasharallah, the righteous, the hopeful elect. So if you're a so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the law, statutes, commandments of your power, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, or you will be destroyed. And with that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to call Loyam, La Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem Rachak, Kodash Rakatham. Number honors to my apostles, the elders, a great millstone who teach and do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akwat, as well as the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of the other nations, appearing like the other nations, but who subscribe to this truth. To you I say shalom. The next time I'm able to come another lesson. Shalom, shalom, and wath lababah, shalom.